Unmute me. All right, I think I'm unmuted now. So the recent, they're now going to be referred to from here on out as parents Meh-tter. Okay, making shirts for that. But the Virginia Beach one, I just can't. I just can't, because, so keep in mind, on August 8th was Henrico, in which I took my stand for the state regarding the law. So just let's it's on our YouTube channel. I've played it everywhere. This was the actual version of somebody recording me, and then I finally went through and
full service. Thank you. And by the way, I take notes. And so if my head's down, it's not that I'm not listening. I'm actually listening intently, because I try very hard to go back in the evening and reflect on what we spoke about.
So this is extremely important, because this was August 8th. And so after this was Fredericksburg, Bristow, Virginia Beach, which happened yesterday. And so keep in mind is that what I told him regarding the legislation I'd written, no school boards are following the law. FERPA, COPA. So every single one he's had since then, when he talks about social media and then data mining, he's completely ignoring the Chromebooks.
Governor Youngkin, it's nice to see you again. I haven't seen you since the Women for Youngkin Christmas party. I had the We Did It Spirit in the Sky shirt on. My name's Ann Kraft-Tatus. I am the co-founder of Virginians for Children's First. A lot of you know me in this room. Some of you might have opinions, but when it comes to our children, both parties are failing. And what if parents matter, then you would bring them back into the equation by acknowledging Virginia law and federal law. And this, I wrote legislation on.
This is important too, because every single one he's done after this, he continues to talk about parents must be involved. Like it's our fault. Like it's our fault. Because we're being lied to and you're doing nothing about it. So this is important to recognize that every single one after this, and I'm going to get to Virginia Beach, is that no, you're not going to blame us like we're the bad parents.
On that 5 to 6 delegates carried, Senator Reeves, Senator Chase, on education transparency. It never survived the Senate Sub-Education Committee.
So for the sake of time, because many of you can go to our YouTube channel, it's all over my everywhere. But I want to skip to the end.
We'll take a few more comments. So first of all, thank you.
Bringing parents to the table or to send the letter is an audit needs to be done to make sure, because you all take an oath of office to not violate the Constitution of Virginia or the Constitution of the United States. Are we doing that? Are we bringing parents to the table, or are we continuing to exclude them is the question we all need to ask.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So first of all, thank you very much for your comment and for your work. And there's a lot here. And so what I will try to do is we'll take a few more comments, and then the senator and I will try to cover off a number of the topics.
Notice he says we're going to cover off a number of the topics, which was COPA, FERPA, the Virginia Consumer Data Protection Act, which still is not in effect. So did he cover those topics? Absolutely. Relating to parents? No. Relating to what I was talking about, the federal law that nobody's following? No.
In a big picture, just as an overarching comment, one of the things that I go to work every morning focused on is empowering parents to be at the head of the table in every decision that's made with regards to their child, every single decision.
You're doing what? You're empowering parents.
The table has teachers and counselors and administrators around it, along with the child, but parents must be at the head of the table. And if there are decisions being made and things being done that don't incorporate that parent's authorization and input, then we are not abiding by Virginia law, because it's in code that parents have a fundamental right to make decisions with regards to their children, their child's upbringing, their education, and their well-being. So here we go. So thank you.
Okay. So the man admits We are not in code. We are not following the Constitution. Right there, I wanted to say, Governor, do you really believe that parents only have rights because of one line? But I want to jump back real
in
quick.
Chesterfield County, put into all 12 middle schools. I'm a recovering addict. I've been clean 15 years. It's part of my story. Knowing my 11-year-old children under 13 for data collection. There are so many laws regarding counseling. They're giving so much counseling to our children without parents ever knowing. My 11-year-old came home talking about she had generalized anxiety disorder. She was suicidal. I went into her Chromebook and found out what had been taught to her. So what is age appropriate? We talk about, I'm a recovering addict. I've been clean 15 years. It's part of my story. I can tell you that teaching 11-year-olds about opiates with pictures of how to use them, giving them the names of the opiates with foil and a pipe to smoke in Chesterfield County, put into all 12 middle schools, and then sending her home with an assignment, asking her what's in her home, to go online. You want to talk about internet safety, encouraging them to go online, find what's in it, what the picture of the pill, and post it online. These are the assignments given to our children. And then when you go to your school board and say, I'd like to see my child's curriculum. No, ma'am, school board attorney says to me, you have to FOIA that. No, sir, I do not. It's called the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment. That's federal law. It's also codified in Virginia. Is that,
by the way, Hanover just denied this exact thing, access to their child's curriculum.
we talk about parents matter. Parents don't even know they matter because they don't know the law, because school boards refuse to acknowledge it. And so Senator Reeves with the Senate, and I'm wrapping up,
So Donovan, by the way, was on the Senate Sub-Ed Committee. So she's sitting there, and every example I had just talked about, and then I'm going to go to Virginia Beach real quick. She's sitting there going, don't sit there like you're shocked. But the same thing is that nobody in that room, and meanwhile, okay, I'm sitting McGuire, let's say Gadara right there. This is my seat right here. Okay. So, for me, this was a big moment to be able to do this and sit that close to it. He's taking notes and he's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let's teach him more opiates. Like, that's how crazy we are right now. But playing dumb, but I'm sorry, but
every decision that's made with regards to their child, every single decision. The table has teachers and counselors and administrators around it, along with the child. But parents must be at the head of the table. And if there are decisions being made and things being done that don't incorporate that parent's authorization and input, then we are not abiding by Virginia law, because it's in code that parents have a fundamental right to make.
Okay, so first he admits we're not following the law. We must follow the law, because I don't know if you've heard enough about we must follow the law in the last week. Okay, we don't get to pick and choose which laws. But then the man acts like parental rights only come from a code, a one-liner in Virginia. Because again, I'm just going to say it one more time. Guys, if you haven't understood or picked up the fact that every child deserves the right to a supportive parent, that is not pro-parental rights language. 100% it is not pro-parental rights language. People go, what do you mean? And I'm like, that is child rights language. So, but sorry about your luck, but counseling, law, well, all that. But so I'm going to jump to, this channel doesn't have the video up yet, but I was able to find it on Forbes. So this was yesterday, Monday, Virginia Beach.
Support our parents instead of move to new communities, and you make us better. And so let me just go through. Of course, everybody knows Delegate Karen Greenhalgh. So we'll say hello. Delegate and Chairman Barry Knight is over here.
D2, you want to talk about swamp?
Senator John Cosgrove is here. Thank you, sir. And folks running, Christy Newcraig, who's running in Senate District 19.
Now, I've heard good things about her, and I'm putting this warning out there from the people that went to bat for her. Give her a warning.
Kevin Adams, who's running in Senate District 22. And Mike Karzik, who's running for the House of Delegates in District 96. I also want to thank the many members who were elected locally here. And so, first of all, school board members. School board members, I think, is about seeing. It manifests itself in so many ways, laced with fentanyl. They didn't know that the packet that they drop into their vape, which I...
Okay, real quick. Fentanyl is disgusting. It is killing people. It is killing children. But you may not want to bring the Koch brothers, who believe in open borders, which is where the fentanyl is coming from. You may not want to bring AFP, the Libre Initiative, I-360, which is Secure the Vote. You may not want to bring the Koch brothers into our state in full force if you want to stop fentanyl, because they are pro-open borders.
Talking about not doing that.
General very clearly opined last.
Sorry for the crappy quality too, but his recording is not up yet. This is the Forbes recording.
That's the responsibility of our school boards. I'd also like...
Wait, what was it?
So just to be clear, the only decision that school boards have to make is to either adopt the model policies as written or policies consistent with them, which are the words you know. This is something that I think has been debated a bit. The Attorney General very clearly opined.
Okay, I'm going to remove that real quick and jump to debunking this. I cannot even believe parents are still one, thinking this policy is a good thing. Have you read it? Have you read the policy? Or are you just blindly believing because there's an R next to it? So, let me look over. Sorry. What happens when I try to organize a show at midnight? But I was just listening to this. I was trying to have some peaceful time. So real quick. So hold on. So this was somebody got a close up of it.
Previous governor that made it very clear that when it came to the model policies for transgender children, the governor is to write model policies and the local school boards are to adopt.
One dumbass, and I cannot express that enough. The governor does not write the model policy. Read the law. It passed it to the Department of Education, which since has now been written because the department has no constitutional authority. So when we question whether knows what she's talking about, they don't write the law to the department anymore. They write it to the board. But no, dumbass, you don't write the policy.
Policies consistent with the model policy. It's a very different approach in what the constitutionally historical approach has.
Wait. It's a very different approach to the Constitution. Is that what I heard? Because it is what I heard. It's a very different approach to the foundation of how democratic form of government in a constitutional republic works. No, I'm sorry, sir.
Been between state government and local governments. And that's why the Attorney General didn't come out last week and said school boards have to adopt it.
No, they don't. No, they do not. No, they don't. Because you say so? Because you've decided government's going to work different. Okay, this is what you have to understand. Is one, you have to understand applauding this. If you haven't read it as a conservative parent, you need to be quiet until you do, first of all. Second of all, the governor does not get to rewrite how the Constitution of Virginia, how a democratic form of government, or what he once says goes. Okay. The governor who will not govern does not get to do that.
Or at least policies consistent with those. I want to push us into, there is a specific bill.
That was his clip that I grabbed from somebody else. But so here's the thing, guys. If you have not done the work, to read the policies, you need to be quiet, zip it until you do. And I'm tired of being nice about this, because this is what you're doing. Okay, first of all. Okay, so let's read the law. Since nobody actually reads the law. Okay, this is not a new law. Okay, and I'll remind you that under Northam, 10% of schools adopted that policy. So really, they have to? Why did 90% of schools get away with it? So again, this law, which is H145 from 2020, this is what it did. So the department shall develop and make available to each school board model policies concerning the treatment of transgender students in public and elementary schools that address common issues regarding transgender in accordance with evidence-based practices, include information, guidance, procedures, and standards relating to compliance with applicable non-discrimination laws, maintenance of a safe and supportive learning environment. Okay, been telling you all along, safe and supportive learning environment, not about safe for all, protected classes from discrimination or harassment from students, prevention of and response to bullying and harassment, maintenance of student records, identification of students, protection of student privacy and confidentiality of sensitive information, enforcement of sex-based dress codes, student participation in sex-specific school activities and events, and use of school facilities, activities, and events do not include athletics. So what they're saying is that you can write guidance to student participation in sex-specific school activities and events and use of the school facilities. You can determine how the school facilities, bathrooms are used, okay? This does not include athletics, okay? So they were specifically saying you cannot make biological males not be able to participate with females. How do I know that that's what this says? Because I sat in the JCAR hearing and I listened to Danica Rome go on and on and on about how the September policy, if you did not know, there was 2 policies. You need to read them both. Each school shall adopt policies that are consistent with, but may be more comprehensive than the model policies developed by the Department of Education pursuant to subsection A. The department shall make available to each school board that each school shall adopt policies pursuant to subsection B, which would be here. Okay. So if you already have policies in place that cover these things, which is what 90% of schools did, you don't have to do anything. Okay. So then let's go to reality that people refuse to understand. Number 2. And this is because I'm in Chesterfield and I have a research from, okay. So Mark Herring's assistant. Okay. So tell me how this would be in an article from July 21st, 2021. Assistant Attorney General, that would be Mark Herring's Assistant Attorney General, Melissa Charnes, who represented, this was in the case trying to fight this in Lynchburg. She noted there's no enforcement mechanism within the policy statute, meaning there's no punishment for school board if they fail to pass inclusive policies as the model policy document guides. Will the state come after a school board's funding if they don't pass these policies? No, she responded. Truth from Mark Herring's Attorney General. So throw your temper tantrum all you want, and then people are going, well, Anne, why don't we? Why are you so against this? Why don't we want this? Again, I will return to, have you read it? I'll pick out one page. This is one page. This is from the new document. That's why it says new, because you have to read July versus September. So schools shall keep parents informed about their child's well-being. Okay. This requirement is, and I'll zoom in. This is where you think you're getting your, again, like Glenn Youngkin, false perception of safety. You think you're getting your parental rights back, that you're going to be notified with what your child does. Read the damn document. This requirement is, of course, subject to laws that prohibit disclosure of information to parents in certain circumstances, including prohibiting parental contact where student is at imminent risk of suicide related to parental negligence or neglect or abuse. All of these children claim that if they're outed, they're going to be abused. They're going to be suicide. They're going to commit suicide. So your rights is now pursuant to a child abuse law without due process because a kid says so. That's what they put in. And then on top of that, in case you're still wondering, okay. To ensure that all students have access to a learning environment in which they feel comfortable and safe, where state and federal law requires schools to permit transgender students to share otherwise sex-segregated facilities, such as bathrooms and locker rooms, with students of the opposite sex, parents should be given the right to opt their child out, okay, of using such facilities. And the child, so this is the straight child, let's be clear, okay, this is what, and then people will say, well, the Grimm case required that children be in transition. No, it didn't. It simply required that the birth certificate be changed. And so if you're not asking the questions of how exactly are you going to verify that a student, because here in Chesterfield, a child could literally print one off the internet and sign it themselves, and this county would take that as they change their birth certificate and then eliminate parents because what? They're going to be abused. So this document that the governor is so that you think you're getting, first of all, if you think that you need a document to get your rights back, but why are we adopting this? If you didn't adopt it the first time, don't do it the second time. But because the governor says so, I'm so sorry. You don't get to recreate law. Okay. So let's go back to Mark Herring. His assistant, July 21st, 2021. There is no enforcement mechanism. So therefore, Governor Youngkin, you can throw a temper tantrum. You can blackmail Miares into saying whatever the hell you want him to say. And then you have to ask the question, why is he pushing this so hard? Because the appearance is that he's pushing it so hard because he's so parental rights. He wants us to have our rights back. Well, if you haven't read the document, you don't know what you're talking about. And then someone sent me Lisa Coons, man, don't come from Tennessee and send out a memo in which you literally list James Lane as your source. Because I have that memo right offhand. When I got that, I was like, whoop, right here. Because the memo that Lane sent out, notice the date, 9 days after Mark Herring's assistant, okay? Like all other mandates on local school boards resulting from General Assembly action, local school boards must fulfill this directive order in order to be compliant with state law. I'm so sorry, but 9 days ago, the Assistant Attorney General said, not true. Local school boards that elect not to adopt policies assume all legal responsibilities for non-compliance. Go back to what was previously said by the Assistant Attorney General, that no, you won't be sued, you won't lose your funding. So whose legal responsibilities for non-compliance are you threatening us about? That would be the ACLU. So that's that. And then down here, local school boards are advised, this is where Chesterfield, prior to public quorum, I'll just go ahead and out them there, had already made the decision based on Sands Anderson and Wendell Roberts, the school board attorney, that they had to do it. Brian Harder in front of Elizabeth Schultz at a GOP meeting last Christmas. I'm just putting everybody on blast now. So Elizabeth Schultz looked at Ryan Harder and said, no, you didn't. We had to adopt it after a year and a half. Elizabeth Schultz looked at him and said, no, you didn't. Who's Elizabeth Schultz? That would be the assistant superintendent of Virginia under Coons, who was Balo, who came from Fairfax. So she knows Ryan Harder, Elizabeth Schultz, I'll pull you up, because when this goes to court, which it will, I'll pull you on the stand. Call me a liar. Elizabeth Schultz to Ryan Harder, who ran for delegate, to me. Elizabeth Schultz looked at him and said, no, you didn't. Local school boards are advised to consult with their local school board attorney and liability insurer provider on the ramifications of not adopting policies consistent with the BDOE model policy. So Chesterfield literally adopted the policy because of this. That. Okay. And so then, then we're going to go to Coons' email. Okay. Literally, Lisa Coons, August 18th. As noted by former Superintendent of Public Instruction James Lane in that same exact memo, July 30th, 9 days after Mark Herring's Assistant Attorney General made her statement, the requirement that local school boards adopt policies consistent with those, and therefore she literally says the law of the land. Are you kidding me? Is codified in statute and therefore the law of the land. What? The law of the land? Like and she literally copies and pastes James Lane's. Local school boards should consider the potential cost of civil litigation or other associated liabilities and so school boards who are still Looney Tunes and parents who are like, oh, that means if my school board doesn't adopt it, I can sue them. Honey, there's nothing in that document that you can sue them over. They're not talking to you. Okay? Go read the documents. I'm so tired of talking about this with people. But so then again, I can't make you understand what you don't want to understand. Okay? I can show you the September document. Okay, September document. Yeah, it was pro parental rights. Schools shall keep parents informed. Troxel v. Granville, end. What did they add since then? And Bobby, I did a show about this the other day. What did they add since then? This. Okay, about the abuse. And this all goes to the JCAR hearing. All of it. And then notice here, this new portion regarding straight children opting out. If you go to the September document, look, done. It is not there. Ends. Bathrooms, bisex, end of conversation. What happened in the middle? December, the JCAR hearing. The ACLU threatened to sue them, so they pandered to the ACLU. Truth, bomb, don't care, better wake up. Back to the video. So that's the truth on that. So y'all can keep pushing for this. I know when we go in front of our school board, I'm going to say, I will see you at the Supreme Court if you do not return my parental rights. But the rest of this, you can shove it, because show me what it looks like for straight children to have to opt out. Because there will be transgender children that somehow get a birth certificate, because they're not going to vet parents signing it in person. They're not going to make sure they're real, because the divisions that adopted this, do you think they actually care? Chesterfield, Virginia Beach, Fairfax. Do you think that they actually want to bring parents to the table? No, they're going to let children write it on notebook paper. This is my birth certificate and this is my parents. And they're going to say, oh, and they're also suicidal and their parents beat them. So we don't have to notify them anyway. So there's going to be transgender. And then if you know to opt out, what does that look like? Have we now reversed it where straight children are going to have to line up in the hallway? Can all straight children please line up in the hallway? It's time for straight people bathroom time. Is that what it's going to look like? Because before now, straight children did not have to have an opt out. What will it look like if a child wants to go to a different bathroom and they don't have an opt out? Will they be denied access and forced to go into a co-ed bathroom? These are questions everybody better start asking before you start passing this policy, because we've lived in this hell for 2 years. So if you haven't lived in it, or if you're in a division that's so eager because you think this is a good thing because you haven't accepted the fact of who our governor is, you better think really hard and listen to the words coming out of my mouth. Because if not, don't come crying to me when this comes tumbling down on your head. Because I'm so tired of saying it. So tired. So let's go back to the video real quick. I specifically want to jump to, where's our video? Here it is. If I can find it. Hold on. Hold on, wait a minute. Oh,
needs to engage in a discussion about the path for education that best fits that child's God-given capabilities and future. So that's where we're going to go. And I will be asking a few questions. And we've got some folks that are mic wranglers here. But I would like to start with Delegate Remo. So I know that parents matter to you because you're not only a parent, you're grandparents. And just share with us a little bit about your own heart on this topic.
Sure. So yes, I am. I'm a parent of 2, grandparent of 2. And with my children, I realized early that I was responsible for my own children and that included their education, which is why with my kids, we did public school, private school, and homeschool. I chose what was best for my child, and my 2 children were different. Our children learn differently. So what was best for each child at a given time for my family and what we can manage to do. And so empowering parents is something that I'm so honored to work with the governor, that we work to empower parents so that
I don't need you to empower me. I need you to make school boards stop lying about the law. That's what I need you to do. I can empower parents, but when parents finally go to the school board and they say they want, where is this? And their school board tells them to suck it. You can't opt your kid out of all the counseling, social working that we're doing. I don't need you to empower parents. I need you to govern the damn state is what I need you to do.
That they have choices to be able to make decisions and then make sure that they have the power to make the decisions for their family. And some of the things that we've done already, we got off to a good start. We got rid of the mask mandate and put that decision back to the parents.
Keep that right there in the forefront with what's going on. Because I bet he's sitting there going, oh, Jesus, I was getting ready to mass these people again. He's not clapping.
And then we also gave parents the right to review and approve the curriculum that's being used with their child in their schools.
You didn't give us the right, okay? There's already Virginia law that parents have access to review all curriculum. You did not give us the right. Green law.
And then a third thing that we did that I'm really pleased about is that if there is an incident of bullying in our schools, parents have to be informed within 24 hours. Parents need that information so they.
How sad is it that we had to write a law that you had to notify parents? Because I can tell you what, 4 months, my child was beaten up like 3 different times, bullied. My child is damaged. But you know what? Doesn't change anything, because Chesterfield County, in order to be bullied, this is what they're missing. The Code of Virginia, thanks to the CDC in 2014, there must be a power imbalance to even be considered bullying. So what in the hell does it matter if it's not considered bullying? Because then you go to, well, what's the power imbalance? I don't know. You tell me. Think about it. Or perceived power imbalance. So can a popular child never be bullied? Or is it because what I see, a white child can never be bullied? So who cares if the school deems it not bullying? Who cares if you're ever notified?
And protect their children. And we all know in this room, I hope we all understand, children belong to the parents, not to the state. But the state is responsible for those children while they're in our schools.
No. Listen.
For my own children, and that included their education, to review and approve the curriculum safety bill last year. And through that bill, we certainly allotted for SROs. But that.
Right.
But the state is responsible for those children while they're in our schools, which is why, as a.
Wait. So you're responsible for them while they're in their schools, correct? Okay, so when they're abused, molested, raped, dragged, special ed kids are dragged down the hallway, have hot sauce poured down their throat, you report the incident to who? CPS, who finds that teachers are never at fault, and they send them back into the classroom. Thank you for acknowledging that.
New delegate, I was really honored to get to carry the governor's first school safety bill last year. And through that bill, we strengthened the working relationship between every school in the state and their local law enforcement, which was a great achievement. And then this year, I got to carry his second school safety bill, and that we have money allotted for SROs. But that bill allowed that money to also be used for other security issues and funding for training and safety equipment. So
it's real correct, guys, because see, the problem is with me and Youngkin is that I campaigned for him and I traveled this state. And I just happened to be at many of his rallies that he probably wishes I was never at. So I sent these to myself because I have them on my phone.
Virginia again.
Accessory action back.
Okay,
wrong one.
Violated the Virginia Constitution. They invaded.
I clipped a couple of them out. Let me find what I'm looking for. Oh, here it is.
Kids' safety, our kids can't wait.
This would be in Burke, Virginia,
First,
Fairfax.
When I'm your governor working for you, every school will be required to have school resource officers on its campus.
Wait, it gets better. It gets better.
And let me be clear. They
His
will
famous
be
words.
on every campus or that school will lose its funding. If you are a school board and you refuse to equip your schools with school resource officers to keep our children safe, you will need to find your funding for your school on your own.
Okay.
Immediate action in
So
regards.
why are things like this important? People are like, well, he never could have delivered on that. Guess what? You don't run on it then. Then going back to their video about how they're propping up everything. Oh, we did this. Okay, I'm sorry, but let's go back to Burke, Virginia, where, let me be clear, you need to find your funding elsewhere if you don't have SROs in every school. So let's not applaud him for that.
Good to be able to say that in Virginia, we are working to keep every school safe in Virginia, and we're also working to support our parents instead of trying to take their place.
I'm sorry, you're doing what? You're doing what? You're working to support us instead of taking their place? You have to start listening to the words these people are saying.
Okay. All right, so let's start with expectations for kids. And what we do know is that children will meet the expectations that are set with them. And if expectations are watered down, sadly, they'll meet those lower expectations. And we also know when expectations are increased or stretched, children will stretch. And this is our chance, I think, to one, hear from you all as I think we can pursue a real objective, to raise the ceiling and the floor, to bring to our kids collectively the opportunity to run
Our kids collective, okay?
as fast as they can, but also to help those children that we know need some extra support. The Virginia Literacy Act was passed last
Virginia Illiteracy Act.
year on a bipartisan basis. It started out in K through third grade so that every child in Virginia can read. How about that for an objective? That every child in the Commonwealth of Virginia learns to read.
I'm getting to it.
Our
I'm
work
kidding.
has gone on since then with both bills and some funding that will extend that effort all the way up.
There was no funding, by the way. They mandated every division, unfunded mandate. They mandated every division do this and then figure it out themselves.
Into middle school. This is a foundation of success. Is
No, it's not.
able to read. But let me stop. Okay, so what I'd love to do is hear from some folks on your own experiences, things that work, things that you think we should.
And implement
I'm trying to skip
One of the
his.
challenges for it's not coming back is chronic absenteeism. School. We have to get kids in school. We know that sitting at home behind a computer, remote learning was not great, notwithstanding.
Did he really just say that? While they've been developing virtual Virginia, started here in Chesterfield in 2004, as they write legislation Wampler last session for augmented reality, VR, and AI standards of learning. Did he seriously? I have, like I said, this is like a reveal video.
Why don't you recaps here for just a second? We had massive learning loss, and our kids lost literally decades of progress, and it's not coming back fast.
Okay, I have to take a second. You guys know, those of you that follow me, that I'm going to destroy this. Okay, Governor Youngkin, learning loss, not because of COVID. 100, I have all the reports, and not because of COVID. And this is the same exact speech that he gave everywhere. Okay, learning loss, not because of COVID. Follow with me. This makes me so angry. Okay, first of all, there's a report called The History of the Standards of Learning put out by the Virginia Department of Education. in this report, 2010, this would be Bob McDonald, by shifting its focus from grade level competency to college and career readiness, okay, due to the relatively flat performance of Virginia students in 2009. Okay, so in 2009 or 2010, they quit grade level competency and moved to what? Everybody's bread and butter from every governor since Chuck Robb, college and career readiness. So remember that the next time they tell you learning loss is because of COVID, okay? So then, now because, guys, by the way, math standards of learning are under review. If you'd like to comment, Google VDOE math standards. So I just happen to have this is the math, okay? So this would be, so we talk about, this would be, what year is this? 2007. This is where Virginia is in math, just math. In 2007, okay. Let me get back out. This would be 2009, and yes, this is what I do. So people say, well, I pull up NAEP and it doesn't say this, or I pull up the VDOE page and it doesn't say this. Well, that's because every 2 years, Institute of Education Sciences takes all 50 states. They take with a median, standard of error, and they quantify them so that they're all equal, because every state has different levels of what they hold high or whatnot. This would be math, again, grade 4, below basic. This would be grade 8, 2009, grade 8. I don't know where 2011 went. I just didn't take a picture of it. So 2013, we went up a little bit. Okay. Still, guys, not even proficient. Okay, this is nothing to strive for. So grade 8 math. But then look at 2015. Right down here. Second to last, 49th. That would be grade 4, 2015. Okay. Ooh, sorry. 2017, grade 4. Still 49th, not counting Puerto Rico. Where we're next. Oh, then I would be remiss if I did not. Oh, let's see, 8th grade. Sorry, I don't want to skip that. I know I did these. And notice how 8th grade disappeared in 2015. They stopped assessing it. But people question me when I talk about us being 50th in the nation, which I'm getting ready to show you. Go to this report, the Honesty Gap report, because in his appendix, this is an image from his appendices. And he ran on this. Okay. 4th grade literacy, below proficient, 50th. 8th grade literacy, the only state below proficient. I'm sorry, below basic. Below basic. Because everybody's below proficient. Below basic. Below basic. Math, still 50th. Barely basic, but still 50th, next to Puerto Rico. So, but the thing that Youngkin leaves out is a couple of key factors. Go back to the 2009. Remember, we stopped grade level competency. So this would be reading literacy, grade 8. So in 2009, okay, there were 16 states. Sorry, it's covered by my green arrow. I've done many presentations on this. So, no, I'm sorry, Governor Youngkin. You cannot blame the Democrats. You cannot blame Northam. You cannot blame anybody because in 2009, there were 16 states, okay, below basic. We stopped grade level competency in 2010 and switched to college and career readiness. Since then, we became the only state below basic. Okay. And again, that's what he leaves out. And again, people ask me all the time, where do you get that from? It's in his own appendices in this document if you flip all the way to the back. But then 4th grade reading, again, 2009, there were 10 states below basic. 2010, we stopped grade level competency. We became the only one. One state had grade 4 reading standard. That would be us. So if you're not figuring out that we're not getting the full story here, then you really should. Because tell me if this is going to fix. So this is currently, if you want to make a comment, the math standards of learning, because history standards of learning, everybody gets all pissed. But somehow math standards of learning. Data literacy, adding that. This is really going to help, because he goes on in the Virginia Beach thing to talk about we definitely need to add more, arithmetic, academics. No, read the document because it's currently under revision if you want to. Okay. Grade K through algebra, data cycle. Formulate questions to be explored with data. Collect or acquire data. Organize, represent data. What does this have to do with math standards of learning? Ask and answer questions about data represented in pictographs and bar graphs. Okay, solve 1- and 2-step addition and subtraction problems using data from pictographs and bar graphs. Solve single-step and multi-step addition and subtraction problems using data from line graphs. How about we just do addition and subtraction? Because data literacy being put into the new proposed math standards of learning. What? So before you're like, oh yeah, we're going to get more rigor. We're going to get, we're going to start, you really need to start reading the documents because they're currently under revision. And then this is my favorite. The focus standards are best in class. They're most challenging in the nation. They're benchmarks against the NAEP, which were 50th in the nation, the ACT and the SAT. Standards reinforce foundational math skill and facts to ensure that students can accelerate at their own pace. Student-driven learning. This is a Marxist approach to education. Father, also John Dewey. Approach taken in these standards ensures students can apply mathematic. I don't know what that was supposed to say. They covered it up. Concepts. Can apply mathematical concepts. Okay. I don't see arithmetic. Okay. You have to start reading the words. Students can apply mathematical concepts. Well, what concepts are you speaking of when you're adding data literacy? And then the last part that I'm going to jump to because I don't want to be on here all night. I have got so much crap to do. Where am I? I mean, where I am. Oh, going back here. Go to the video. So where's the social media gaslighting? Gotta find it.
They're part of that community. But we also have to make sure that we have equipped schools with active shooter training, which has happened all the way across the country.
Thank you so much, President.
God.
Christmas Day. And the LGBT.
And the governor's office trying to promote something that they
Applauding him again.
Consistent with the model policy.
Model
picks
policy.
up their phone, and when it gets to a certain number in the first app they look at, so obviously that's the trigger, that's what is driving their behavior. And when that becomes inside, and you're spending all this time doing that and never going outside, research shows
See, people,
Out there knowing what should be posted out there and what shouldn't, because every scholarship they look out there. Yes, we've had positive things and negative things on the education side using social media. I now have a college student who
spend less time on social media.
yes.
All right, here comes the second hard question. How many people agree that I, not the governor, but I, meaning you, have a role in helping them spend less time on social media?
okay. This is the bit. Okay. Where is it?
Positive out there knowing what should be posted out there and what shouldn't.
And the needs, when they're first there and they're so.
Hold on. Where's
Who
Gadara?
dropped off kids this morning? Have loved being parents. Hello? Delegate and chair, military family.
Never be excluded from the table. That's the responsibility of. Look at this in math and reading and learning loss. Legislative session to amend the bills and to.
So yes, I am. I'm a parent of
Where's the thing about Gadara?
So not stop with the social media and the
For under 18, you can't get a subscription to a pornography site without your parents.
Oh, bravo.
And
Lock
I
down
have two
Pornhub.
children, one daughter with severe disabilities. So today I'm going to share for my family. And this is a let them learn like.
I'm cognizant of time. We've come together again with Emory and Henry College to create a healthcare lab school. So everybody who goes to school there is going to do something in healthcare.
Okay. Lab schools, healthcare lab schools. This is where we get into District 8 Hunger Games. Okay. Is that children determining what they're going to be when they grow up and learning that one skill is horrific.
That's to be a radiology tech, a nurse, or a doctor. We also are seeing a space lab school being put together near Wallops Island in the Eastern Shore. Kids who want to be in the world of space. They can be astronauts or they can be.
These kids are not going to be taught to be astronauts, for Christ's sake.
Marine trades school starting in Newport News for students who either want to design ships or ones that want to be particularly skilled in building them.
But what if they decide one day that they don't want to build ships anymore? They don't have a foundation to do anything else but build ships.
All kinds of lab schools, really cool.
And guys, John Dewey, first lab school, 1896, father of progressive educations. They're called lab rat schools.
Melds with a huge ambition that I have, which is to take our community college system and our K-12 system and kind of merge them a little bit. Blur the line.
Which, by the way, guys, he said this in 2020 at the World Economic Forum. We have 1 million jobs, and then you can watch. We have 1 million jobs that we don't have people for. We have to figure it out as business owners, and we're going to do it by partnering with community colleges. World Economic Forum, 2020, Davos, Switzerland, America's economic resilience. The man said it. I've played it on my channel 18 times. So when the man is in the World Economic on the stage in Davos and says something, and then he says,
Marine trades school starting in Newport News, building them. All kinds of lab schools, really cool. That melds with a huge ambition that I have, which is to take our community college system and our K-12 system and kind of merge them a little bit.
thanks.
Blur the lines.
You must have been that genie ball that you were going to win.
Who is going to graduate from high school in Virginia has an opportunity, and I might suggest maybe even a requirement down the road to graduate with a credential, an industry recognized credential.
Okay, that right there, somebody had pointed out to watch me. Maybe down the road, a requirement that they graduate with a skill. People applauded that. Okay, if you need to hear it again.
And just to give you a sense, these are everything and anything. So in Southwest Virginia, we've come together again with Emory and Henry College to create a healthcare lab school. So everybody who goes to school there is going to do something in healthcare, whether that's to be a radiology tech, a nurse, or a doctor.
You can't become a nurse in freaking high school.
We also are seeing a space lab school be put together.
Wait, they're not going to be astronauts either.
All kinds of lab schools, really cool. That melds with a huge ambition that I have, which is to take our community college system and our K through 12 system and kind of merge them a little bit, blur the lines, so that every student who is going to graduate from high school in Virginia has an opportunity, and I might suggest maybe even a requirement down the road.
Okay. I might even suggest a requirement down the road.
That melds with merge them a little bit, blur the line right away if they chose to, or they could go on to college if that's what they choose to.
Or they could go on to college. I mean,
choose the path that best fits their ambitions, and we can prepare them for this.
So to be able to help children where they are, they all learn differently. Families have different.
To begin to frame a legislative agenda.
Welcome to the Communist Commonwealth of Virginia.
So just to be clear, the only decision that school boards,
Mike Parzik, who's running for the House of Delegates,
love to do is hear from some
Often worked with students who are struggling.
I wanted to hear that
in the classroom.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, because I have to put this in, because you guys have got to finally understand who Amy Gadara is. I'm going to go to the Richmond one, where he fully, after I just spoke. I love this too, because that's not even the cover.
Still in the pandemic, and because of masks and
some of the books in the Henrico County elementary school.
Yeah. Times questions that you ask, and we'll try great opportunities.
With them, or decide if your child is developmentally right.
One of the great bipartisan bills that we passed in our first period as in the administration, and we had great support from all the legislators here, was called the Virginia Literacy Act.
Literacy Act.
And their well-being. So here we go. So thank you. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to go back here because I saw your hand early. I'm so sorry. We'll go.
Till this July.
Model policy that.
And so I like the idea of bullying hotlines, but
from smaller schools. Inclusion rates in general ed classrooms.
The freedoms of America more than Americans do who were born here. Able to fully fund tax-driven scholarships in the technology field or in the manufacturing world.
It could be done to help parents not have to spend hours and hours and hours on a daily basis just to try to keep them safe.
This is what blew me away. All parents wanted to talk about in Richmond was social media, keeping their kids safe on social media.
Institutional, and we just, let's find a different way to do this. And so we worked on this concept of lab school for the next generation.
It's very important that we have a voice, and I can't remember New York, and not somebody from another.
Does not only in gathering data, but also.
Bravo, dude! He called on Whitman.
I'm a believer 99% of the time.
New York, and not somebody from another country who's trolling them for something else. So as many times as we put up any kind of block mechanisms or security things for our children, it is like closing a door with all the windows open. I feel like
these parents, I find it hard to believe that their kids come home with Chromebooks and 18 million pieces of ed tech, and these have to be plants.
Anyone can come in at any time. And as much as we try to protect our children, it's really hard, and you feel incredibly vulnerable.
Look at me.
Just kind of throwing them out to the world. So it's one of those things, and I know in Congress, they're working in a bipartisan way to try to keep ages. My 12-year-old's not allowed, cross my fingers that he listens, But there's certain things that I feel like could be done to help parents not have to spend hours and hours.
These people just listened to me too tell the exact examples of what was in my child's Chromebook.
And hours on a daily basis just to try to keep them safe.
Yeah, thank you.
So,
Congressman, if we could, can you just share a little bit?
But he basically checked him and said AI is coming at us like a train. Like, I don't think Youngkin wanted to hear what he had to say, and we're working together now. But
behind you when you're
Okay,
done.
I will. Hello, my name.
It worked in your own journey.
It's not something that I know how to even back up. What do we stand for? Is this taking you closer to that person, or is it bringing you further away?
So can we stay? I'm going to stay on this topic for a second, and I've watched your hand go firing up back here. So can we just go back here and this woman in the black jacket?
So as a mother, I'm from South Kids. See what they.
Thank you. So, and therefore we should stretch them, and we can, on top of that, lift those who are struggling.
God, where is it?
We are here to make
versus not in person is just a fundamental in February. So this is a huge effort. It's an important one around expectations and learning loss.
Right to opt.
We need funding. We need a budget. On the SOLs, the state tests.
is developmentally right. I will not hear any more figure out how to help them move forward. And I'm thinking about your children and
parents is one that I think has really found its footing in Virginia. And I think we've been leading.
No, you're not.
And say, well, don't limit it to ever. And we'd hug and say, my job is not to be your friend, but to be all of test results. What do we do? Are we behind? Do we need to? And I think we've been leading. As an OB and a doctor, you help people become parents.
Yeah, and you help bring the HPV vaccine in too. Thanks.
but also thorough in talking about this, because I talk about this every day with the moms in my office. And I bring to you a little bit of a summary of kind of my observations, which have very much helped me decide how I go forward with the legislation that we're going to talk about on and off. They're worried. They're deeply worried. Let me preface also, I too am the mother of 4 children. Thank God mine are raised. I feel for you. It is a scary time. And I know that worry that you spend every night thinking about your children and how you make sure you don't miss anything so that you can guide them the way they needed to.
This is the woman that voted to bypass my legislation on education transparency, by the way.
To be guided, they need to be guided. And we now are coming out of a period where our children suffered incredible isolation and learning loss during COVID. They're in poorly performing schools. Even before they left for COVID, the social agenda in schools kind of excludes parents from conversations and has derailed a lot of the academic conversation. Our kids, we know this, they need structure, they need guidance, they need accountability. And it's harder for parents to know how to help them when they are separated from some of the data points that are necessary for parents to do so. I don't know how we got this off track. When I grew up, the scariest authority unit, and you need to know they're ready for 4th grade when they're done. That's great, but we're going to restore it.
Yeah, thank you. Work so hard to try to turn it into the most enriching experience, having the highest expectations for. And now we, in fact, have passed legislation to extend it up to the rest of elementary school and to begin to moving into. I would ask you to think about your microphone, who will run around and help us. Here we go. So why don't we?
God, where is it?
Cyberbullying, social bullying, they categorize it many ways.
Okay, so
It's the
anyway,
number one issue for students, teachers, and
they
parents.
go on to talk about, he literally talks about the immense amounts of data mining going on in social media. To which I'm quickly going to show you, if you are not aware, who our governor hired to be our Secretary of Education. I'm not going to show the full thing. This would be 2005. Data quality campaign launched at Data Summit. Who founded it? Amy Godera. The Data Quality Campaign is a national collaborative effort to encourage and support state policymakers to improve the collection and availability and use of high-quality education data, implement statewide longitudinal data systems to the SLDS, grants for $48 million. The campaign aims to provide tools and resources that will assist states in their development of quality. So she developed I've said this before, statewide longitudinal database system. 2009 is when we took our first grant. The campaign is supported by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Data is one of our best tools to measure learning and guide policy. So right here, the campaign will provide 10 essential elements: a unique statewide student identifier, student level enrollment, demographic, the ability to match individual students' test records from year to year to measure academic growth, information on untested students. How would you do that? Oh yeah, Chromebooks. A teachers, you're identified too. College readiness test scores, student level graduation dropout data. See, they're already talking about student records between pre-K and post-secondary systems. A state audit system assessing data quality, validity, and reliability. And then policymakers need to make plans. This is really, but right down here, the founding partners of the Data Quality Campaign and the Data Summit. You've got the Broad Foundation, if you don't know who they are, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Let's see. Look right here, A. Godera. For more information, A. Godera at Just for Kids. So if you don't know about achieve.org, you should. Alliance for Excellent Education. What are we doing in Virginia? Education excellence. If you don't know about CCSSO, Council of Chief State School Officers, you should. Education Trust. Look that up. That's fun. NGA. Schools Interoperability Framework Association. And so if you don't know who she is, but then I'm just going to jump really quickly because I always talk about this, is the money. Our governor hired one of Bill Gates' most funded companies. Okay? Zoom in. Just to eat. Okay? Data Quality Campaign. $2 million. $3 million. $600,000. These are just some screenshots I had. $4.5 million. $5.5 million. Oh, this is for global. It's because it's got it broken down. Global policy and advocacy, $1.25 million. Grant topic, public awareness and analysis, $500,000. It goes on and on and on. And you can go on their page and it's all right there. March 2009, same time that this started, $4.85 million. $600,000. $250,000. $4.7 million. $1 million. $2.6 million. Do you feel me? Oh, and then there's using social emotional learning data in the core districts data quality campaign. That's March. What does that say? March 2018, I think. I got my camera up there. I can't see it. Oh, look, this just happens to be one of the grants that we took. Virginia's Longitudinal System Expansion Project. This would be the original grant we took. $6 million. This would be thanks to Gadara. Look, this would be also Amy Gadara, Equity in Social Emotional Learning Data Quality Campaign. So I don't know, I get to the point where I'm like, I don't know where the disconnect is here. Like, I'm really unsure, but I don't know what else to do other than simply just blast the truth and the evidence at you. And because this is what's happening, I'm going to show you that. So that when they're lying to you about your ability to opt out, this would be a Chesterfield parent. So these surveys, social emotional learning, they're telling you can't opt out. If you know, this is what it's telling you on your, and this stuff sits post graduation 75 years. Functional impairment, inappropriate behavior, feelings, schizophrenia, thought disorders, anxiety. Okay. All of this is data. And our is the queen data miner of the world. This would be what the statewide longitudinal data looks like. So this is how boop, 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 boop. Again, you should go through National Institute of Education Sciences. And then closing out, I want to go through law we talked about real quick, especially counseling. Get your kids out of the damn counseling. And for those of you, 8 VAC 20-620-10, your school board must have policies. No student shall be required to participate in any counseling program to which the parents object. Learn the law. Governor Youngkin, I wrote legislation on it. Guess what? Hanover, whoever's told, right here. Instructional materials. Local school boards shall adopt policies and criteria. The rights of parents to inspect upon request any instructional materials used as part of the educational curriculum. And that would be the Protection of People Rights Amendment. But if you don't know to ask because they haven't told you, which is required by law. And then I want to get something really clear one time. SEL, they're telling you can't opt out of it. How can you not opt out of something that, while the General Assembly required the VDOE to develop guidance standards for SEL, Virginia school divisions are not required to adopt them? How can they force you to take something that they never had to adopt in the first place? Common sense. So go watch the video, think, use your brain, turn off your red vest, stop drinking the Kool-Aid, get out of the Blade vampire blood rave, and accept reality for what it is that nothing going on in this state is true. And because I'm really fed up with parents, because it's having a geopolitical war history master's degree, I feel like I'm watching parents build boxcars for their own children. Your children are building their boxcars, and you know what I'm talking about. And then you're going to watch them get on the boxcars and go off to nowhere and never come back. Because that's where we are. Because if you keep believing everything coming out of this party's mouth or this man's mouth, just go ahead, applaud them while they're building their own rail car. Because we are going to be living in collective, you can call it Nazism, fascism, communism, socialism. I don't care. But none of you are acting like we live in the freest nation in the world if you think that you have to send your children to a government school and that Governor Youngkin is going to come help you advocate for your own rights. No. Start acting like you're free, and for the love of God, get a set, grow a pair, I don't know what. Start advocating for your own children. And if you're worried about fear, I'll tell you about fear is when CPS social workers come knocking at your door because you didn't want to opt them out or force your division to acknowledge the law. and they got counseled by social workers, psychologists, and your 7-year-old said that you were a bad parent because you took their iPad away that morning, there you go. They're mandated reporters. They hate you anyway. So congratulations. You didn't want to force the governor. You waited for him because guess what? Nobody's coming to save us. It's late. I'm out. Wake up.